Hey everyone, this is Dave Myers, producer and participant of Gold Ball Sports. And as we begin season 2, we are very excited. Us three guys, myself, Ken, and Scott, we are so excited to bring to you sports talk and other talk, especially in our hometown of Tullahoma, Tennessee. But this is where we need your help. So just briefly, if you can, like this video, share it, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter and on, of course, Facebook, where we stream every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central. We need your help. This is all word of mouth. We have no ounce of advertising or funding going on. And so, of course, we're going to hit that later. But we just need your help in spreading the word. So if you can, share this around, like the page, subscribe, all that stuff. Anyways, on to sports. Thanks for staying with us, and here's to a good season 2. Thank y'all.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to Gold Ball Sports. Season 2 has begun. Season 1 was fantastic. We enjoyed it. We appreciate your response. We put out, about 20 episodes for Season 1. It ended in February. There's multiple reasons why it ended. No sense in rehashing that now. We restarted. Season 2 is upon you. So what is Gold Ball Sports? Well, I'm Scott Shastine. This is Ken Keller. Our producer, director, audio engineer, and videographer is Dave Myers. Together we are Gold Ball Sports. And what we do is every week get together here at our plush Apex Restoration DKI studio. We get together here and have an hour or so of sports talk. And you're invited to be here every week, right here on Facebook Live. Now, we are expanding a little bit this year, as you might expect. Some things have changed from last year. We've got some new segments. We took your suggestions and transformed some things, reworked some things. So it's going to be a little bit different, but overall, it's the Hour Sports Talk Show, weekly Hour Sports Talk Show that you came to appreciate and watch. So we've got new accounts set up, really just one, but Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. All three of them are Gold Ball Sports. That's simple to find. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. This is where you watch the show. And then on YouTube, the day after the show, we'll put it up on YouTube, and that's where we'll cut out any special little segments that we have. You'll remember segments from last year, like Two Kids Kicking rap video and the Bama haters list. Those were a couple of segments that got hundreds of likes on Facebook. So we'll be doing a lot of that this year. But man, we welcome you in. We're so excited to be back. Last year, we started in the middle of September, and we went to the middle of February. So we are really pumped to be getting a jump on this year, starting in the middle of August. Last year, Gold Ball Sports, frankly, just did not include hardly any high school sports. This year, we have totally rethought that and decided, you know what? Local is our bread and butter. You folks are our audience. So local is now the foundation of goal ball sports, and then we'll spread it out every episode to all kind of things. But we start local. And so I was thinking, instead of rehashing what's happened in the last 6 months sports-wise, because you watch the Super Bowl, you know who won the NCAA basketball championship, you know who won baseball, you know who won, by the way, the SEC pretty much won everything. You know who was the only school in 25 years to play in a New Year's Six Bowl, go to the Sweet 16 in men's and women's basketball, go to the softball World Series, and go to the college baseball World Series. There's only been one school do that in the last 25 years, Ken. Who was that last year that did that?
You already thrown them big orange punches, aren't you?
It was the University of Tennessee. That's right. So that happened. But what I want to do in this real short opening segment where we review sports that have happened, Ken, is to remind you that we never had a single show about this.
Yeah, baby.
Tullahoma State Championship in 2021, because by the time we won that championship, we had quit the Duck. And last year when we did Go Ball Sports, we never talked about it much.
Yeah.
So I don't want to spend a bunch of time on it. But to watch some of the games in the last couple of weeks from the 2020 season and that 2021 season, what a fantastic Tullahoma Wildcat football team that was.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, us three, me, you, and Dave were at the fan feast on Friday night, and I don't know. I had some eye issues last year, and I don't know if I ever noticed it. I didn't notice it last year, but at the bottom of the scoreboard it said 2021 4A state champions. And I asked Coach Olive, who coached that team, I was down there getting a hamburger. I said, Coach, was that up last year on the scoreboard? He said, yeah, it was. First time I saw it, but hey, we're going to celebrate that win, and we're going to springboard to 2023 and talk about this new region the Tullahoma Wildcats are in year 2 under head coach Coy Sisk.
So Tullahoma coming off that remember in 2020 the Wildcats went 12-1, lost in the third round of the playoffs when a snap went over the punter's head. Remember the year before, Tullahoma got put out in the first round, but the year before that they advanced to the third round of the playoffs, got put out by Maplewood. So Tullahoma had been to the third round of the playoffs or better 3 of the last 4 years heading into last year. But kind of a rebuilding effort, lost 22 seniors, new head coach Coy Sisk did a great job with a really, really young team, and went 4-6 in Class 4A. Nothing has changed more in 6 months than college football. But high school football is close because the TSSAA did their reclassification. Tullahoma's now 5A instead of 4A, and the Wildcats are in a new region, Region 5, 5A. So along with Tullahoma in Region 5, 5A is Columbia Central, Franklin County, Lawrence County, Lincoln County, Shelbyville, and Spring Hill. Ken, it's a lot like an old District 8 AAA region. In fact, other than a McMinnville and a Manchester, it's a lot like an old Central Tennessee Conference, which existed before the playoffs started in 1969. This, Ken, is our kind of region.
Oh, it is. No doubt about it. I mean, rivalries renewed. I sure missed that Columbia Lions rivalry. They had some great games with Tullahoma Wildcats, and then Franklin County. We didn't play them last year. And so those are 2 of the teams I look forward to Tullahoma battling against this season, Scott.
Yeah, we haven't played any of these teams except Shelbyville in the last 2 years. So let me give you a quick preview of this region. Columbia. They were 5A last year. The Lions are coming off a 3-7 season in this same region last year. They are coached by Robert Sharp. The Franklin County Rebels had maybe their best season in a decade last year. They went 7-4, but this year Franklin County not only loses some of those exceptional athletes, but also brings in new head coach Tracy Hayworth, former Tennessee Volunteer, former Detroit Lion. Tracy will do great at Franklin County. First year, not so sure. Lawrence County, the Wildcats, coached by Dave Marston. He's the longest running coach in this region. They were 6-4 last year. Lawrence County had a pretty good year. Beat Tullahoma 14-10. Lincoln County and Fayetteville, coached by Eddie Cunningham, coming off a 2-9 season. Their preseason has not been anything to write home about. Shelbyville, under second-year coach Judd Dryden, I think will be much better. They went 1-10 last year. In Spring Hill, maybe the worst. I won't go too far here because there's some really bad high school football teams, but Spring Hill's one of the worst. Didn't win a game last year. May not win a game this year. Ken, your first early thoughts. Now, we kick off Friday night. We're going to talk considerably more about Tullahoma throughout this show. We just want to get the fans accustomed to this new region, and those are going to be 6 of our games. We're going to go over the Tullahoma schedule here in a bit, but your thoughts on this new region and who you think are the top teams to watch?
Well, basically listening to the Scott Chastain podcast, the daily podcast that you do a great job at, Scott, and giving the great information.
On Spotify, it's called The Chastain Show.
There you go, yeah. And so, I mean, the good thing, I believe there's only, I heard on your podcast, 2 teams that's in this region now from last season that have winning records. And so I think that bodes well for Tullahoma. You know, Tullahoma, as I looked at their depth chart and their starters, projected starters, lots of seniors. So this team, I think, has grown up since last year. They've been in the weight room a year longer. You know, you mentioned they lost last year to Lawrence County 14-10. I know Tullahoma lost that game at home, get the chance to play them again at home this year. And a day after that, I was at a birthday party last year and talked to Coach Olive and the athletic director now, Coach Olive, and 2021 state champion, longtime Tullahoma Wildcat coach. And he said, you know, a year in the weight room of getting bigger, stronger, and faster makes a difference. And I look forward to that paying dividends. You know, there's not a game on that schedule that I look at and say that Tullahoma is a prohibitive underdog in. I think Tullahoma's got a shot in every single game and probably the favorites in most of them.
Well, and like you said, only 2 teams in this region had winning records last year. And only 2 of Tullahoma's 4 non-region opponents had winning records last year. That was Stewart's Creek and Coffee County. But we're going to go down that Tullahoma schedule a little bit later. I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and introduce a new segment. What do you think? We have got a new segment this year that we are so excited about. It is called The Blue Couch. And on the Blue Couch, we are bringing in guests. That's right. Gold Ball Sports in Season 2 is going to welcome guests. And our first guest this year is Tullahoma fullback, tight end, sort of an H-back thing, defensive end, Ezra Myers.
All right, welcome everyone to the Blue Couch, a new segment we have started on Season 2 of Gold Ball Sports. And it's my pleasure, my honor to introduce you to our first guest. He's my son. He had no choice of really whether he wanted to be on here or not. I kind of dragged him into it. Tullahoma High School defensive end, Ezra Myers.
Hey, guys.
Perfect. So the premise of the show is going to be this. It's going to be real simple. We got 5 questions that we're going to ask to current players, coaches, former players, national level players, and we're just going to kind of pick their brains, let you get to know these guys and what they're thinking day to day. So we're going to begin with question number 1. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Heading into your senior year, what's been a key takeaway from your career in high school football?
One of the biggest takeaways, in my opinion, I think, is probably stepping into a leadership role my senior year and being able to take that to anywhere later on in life, like work or just anywhere, really.
Cool. All right, question 2. And this is going to touch a nerve. Are you ready?
Yeah.
What do you say to the people who talk about your size at the defensive end position?
I think it helps me, really, because a lot of these teams have taller, bigger defensive ends. They haven't really experienced a lot of speed, or it's harder for taller offensive tackles to get down to my level. So I use that to my advantage, just as like leverage or in any other way possible.
Cool. Like that. All right, question number 3. What are your personal goals for yourself this season?
A personal goal for me is obviously raising the bar on how many tackles, how many sacks I get, but also making the people around me better in practice. And that's just going as hard as I can, 100% of the time, making our team better, get us ready for the playoffs, or even like just regular season, just get us ready for those region games.
All right, now we're not going to get in trouble here. So I don't want you to say names. I just want you to say in general as a team these next and last 2 questions.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
What is the Wildcats' weakness this year?
I say a big weakness. We lost a couple of big factors in our secondary on our defense, although we do have some key roles that were here last year returning before the first game. So when they do return, I believe our secondary is going to be stronger than it is now, although it's our secondary right now isn't bad.
Yeah, and y'all lost a ton of key people. I mean, through either injury or graduating, especially the state championship team. So it's rebuilding, right?
Yep.
We get to it. All right, so the last question. This won't get you in trouble, but still try and talk in terms of team, all right? What's the Wildcats' strength this year?
We have a lot of seniors returning, people that were juniors last year returning this year. Linebackers are looking really good. D-line, O-line. Our O-line last year was what a lot of people said was a problem for us. I believe they've gotten more experience and they've gotten better from last year.
Yeah, I can say through these first 2 scrimmages that I've seen,
Yeah.
O-line looks fantastic this year.
I mean, we've had a quarterback that stepped into a role last year that he filled in for somebody that he didn't know he was going to fill in for. Had a lot of experience from last year. Is doing a lot better from last year than he is this year. Just got a bunch of new faces that'll help us out this year as well.
Perfect. You nailed it, buddy. All right, so that's Blue Couch, episode 1. Bye.
Wow. All right, the Blue Couch, Ken. Ezra Myers, number 35, senior defensive end, fullback. Need Ezra to have a big year.
Yeah, he transferred in from Good Pasture last year. Easily got the best nickname on Tullahoma Wildcat football team, Easy Money. So we like calling his name out last year, Scott. He got hobbled a little bit in the game Friday night, but I think he's going to be back in the scrimmage at FanFest against Summit, but he's going to be back and ready against Stewart's Creek.
Yeah, more about the scrimmage Friday night and a lot more about this Friday night, Tullahoma, Stewart's Creek, 7 o'clock, Wilkins Stadium. Ken and I will be on LightTube Sports Network calling that thing for you, and we're excited. We hope you will be there. All right, you'll remember this segment from last year. We did it. We love it. We're doing it again. We're handing out participation trophies.
Gold Ball Sports, where participation trophies simply don't cut it.
Yeah. See what we did? You regular viewers last year will know exactly what we did and why. I like it though. All right, my participation trophy. Man. It's been, 6 months we talked about, right? 6 months since we got on here and did a participation trophy. There's been a lot of participants in that time in a lot of important situations where they just didn't show up. I could give the president about 50. But I think I'll just go short term here and hand this out to your favorite Tennessee Titan, Will Levis. Will Levis, the bust at Kentucky, fell out of the first round, Mr. Embarrassment, fell into the second round. The Titans trade up to get him. All I ever saw him do at Kentucky was throw interceptions and get sacked and stuff. But anyway, the Titans draft him. He played some of the second half in their preseason opener, which was a pretty good preseason game to watch. But Ken, not the least bit impressed with Will Levis. He looks in a Titans uniform exactly. Let me put this differently. He is who we thought he was.
Oh, mercy. Well, so he's a multiple participation trophy winner
I'm sure
for
he
you,
won
Scott,
for
because he
Kentucky
won
last
it.
year.
Yeah, you selected him last year with the Wildcats. He's just changed shades of blue. Went from Kentucky royal blue to little navy blue with the Titans. But it'll be interesting to see if he can hold off Malik Willis. And
I think it's the other way around myself.
Yeah.
You know, Malik Willis was a high draft pick last year to be the quarterback.
Yeah, it's the third round. So we'll see how that pans out and see if the Titans keep three quarterbacks. So I'm going to go a little different route. Again, we've had 6 months to think about this, but mine's fairly recent. Scott. I went with the World Cup soccer, and particularly an embarrassing performer and player and representation of the United States for the women's soccer team, Megan Rapinoe. And I just think her actions were absolutely really disgusting the entire time. And, you know, to see a player, she's worthy to have her own cereal box named after her, Scott. And so that's what I'm going to do here tonight on Go Ball Sports during my participation trophy. So I wanted to show my audience, I collect baseball relics, and this one didn't last in the shed I have for very long against the elements. This is a 1998, it's orange box. It's not the Tennessee Vols National Championship Wheaties or Sports Illustrated, but this is the 70 home run season of Mark McGwire. But this is not about Mark McGwire. It's not about him taking steroids. This is about Megan Rapinoe. Megan is going to be put on a brand new Wheaties box, and the name of that cereal, Big Dave, is going to be Wokies. Okay? Can you put that up on the screen for me?
It's up there, Big Dave.
Okay. This is the breakfast of champions. Wokies is the breakfast of losers, and particularly Megan Rapinoe. And I'm going to tell you what really disgusted me. I've been watching sports since I was 7 years old. The first Super Bowl that I watched on TV was my granddad's house, the Redskins and the Dolphins, 1972 season where the Dolphins went undefeated. But I've never in my life seen a basketball player miss a buzzer beater where his team didn't win, or a football player miss a game-winning field goal, or a baseball player strike out with the bases loaded with an opportunity to win the game, or any sports failure at the end of the game that cost their team a win. But Megan Rapinoe, what does she do? She lines up for a penalty kick, and she shanks it dead right. Okay, she missed. That's going to happen. You know, failures happen in sports. But she smirked and laughed about it and made light about it in a press conference. Scott, this is not an American hero. She did not deserve to be wearing the red, white, and blue, representing the good old USA, the red, white, and blue, with her actions. And so in season 2, episode 1, Megan Rapinoe is my participation award winner.
Congratulations, Megan and Will. Good luck on getting more participation trophies as the season moves along. You know, it was a contradiction for America, for parts of America, with the women's soccer team, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because obviously, your participation trophy winner and a couple of other members of the women's U.S. soccer team has certainly given us the impression that they hate America. So Americans were somewhat torn on whether to pull for this team or not. And it was the worst showing ever for the USA women's soccer team in a World Cup. And it's just kind of funny how about half the country couldn't be happier about it.
Yeah.
And half the country
You're right.
torn because they don't like her, but they want to pull for America. It's just a weird thing.
And it really, epitomizes how divided America is.
It's kind of like Brittany Griner in jail in Russia, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Half America said, "Oh my God, got to bring this person home. They're in jail in Russia. Do whatever you can." And half America said, "You know what? She hates America. Why would we fight to bring her home?"
Yeah.
A
a far cry from the patriotism was it the 1980 U.S. hockey team that beat Russia, and Al Michaels' call on that, and what a great time for America that was. I mean, when you have a national team, you want to root for them, you want to all cheer for them, and it just it fell apart for the Americans, unfortunately, and a lot of people did turn on her, and we're not even rooting for the U.S. in the end.
Yeah. Absolutely. So there's our participation trophies. And that's another segment that we'll have most every week for you here on Go Ball Sports. Put back up those Wheaties. They've been in your garage since 1998. I'm anxious to get a bowl as soon as the show's over. All right. So we bouncing a little bit here on episode 1. Trying to get our feet wet, get our feet planted, get ready to take a hit. And so we're going to college football. We're going to talk a little college football because nothing has changed more than college football in the last 6 months. Now, it's not changing that much this year. All the changes are coming next year. And throughout the season, Ken is going to consistently remind us of who's moving to what conference, who's doing this and who's doing that. But we got in here on the preseason this year. Last year, we started the show after the Tennessee-Florida game, so it was like week 3 or 4. But we're in on the preseason this year, so we got a chance to do some build-up to the college football season like we're building up to the high school football season that starts Friday night. And our college football expert on Go Ball Sports is named Ken Keller. And you'll come to learn that as we advance through the season. Ken, it all changes next year, but this year, our last year of what I'll call normalcy in college football, even though it's anything but normal compared to 5 years ago, right? Yeah. But normalcy in that the SEC remains 16 teams, the Big 12 has 10 or whatever they have now, and there's only 4 playoff teams. The last year for all those things. Next year, all the conferences are going to be different. SEC will welcome in Oklahoma, Texas. Other conferences are going to welcome in all kind of schools. The Pac-12 is disintegrating. But that's next year.
Yeah.
This year, we got a season to play. We got great excitement in the room. Because we're expecting a big year out of the Marshall Thundering Herd. We're expecting a big year out of Alabama Crimson Tide. And we're expecting a big year out of the Tennessee Volunteers. So a lot of preseason excitement in the room for our teams. Yeah. But let's start this out taking a look at the country. The AP just released its top 25 a few days ago. Coaches have done the same. We're going to look at the AP, the Associated Press top 25 poll. It's yours. Pick out spots that you like, you don't like. Give us some of the team's strengths and weaknesses. What do you think?
Okay, so Pigskin's pep talk here, Scott. I always, admired weather forecasters. They would have their little telestrator, and they would, predict the weather and the weather patterns. I'm not a weather forecaster. I'm a football forecaster. So that's what we're going to try to do tonight is look at this AP poll first, this top 25. We're in the poll watching season. Polls are cool to look at, and, people's got various opinions, so we want you to chime in on Facebook. Tell us who you think is too high and too low here. So looking at this top 25, the first impression that I want to look for is how many SEC teams do we have in the top 25? Because we follow primarily, we're located here in Tennessee, the southern region. We love SEC football on Saturdays. We've got 5 SEC teams with the two-time defending champion Georgia Bulldogs at number 1, Alabama at 4, SEC West team, SEC West LSU Fighting Tigers and Brian Kelly's second year. And then the 4th team is the Tennessee Volunteers at 12. A lot of people wanted to be Tennessee.
Aren't you going to say SEC East?
SEC East, that's right. So we got Georgia projected as 1 in the East, Tennessee number 2 in the East, 1 in the West, 2 in the West. So those are your top 4 SEC teams according to the expert posters. And
Same as last year.
Same as last year, that's right.
Same 4.
And then you drop down to 22, and we have 2 more SEC West teams, Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin's, the Fighting Kiffins at number 22, and you have the Texas A&M Aggies, Jimbo Fisher at 23. Now I'm going to tell you, from the SEC teams and where they're ranked, we all figured Georgia was going to be number 1. Just look at their schedule. It is unbelievably easy, except for 1 game on their schedule. Georgia's going to run the table.
Although that's not the reason they're number 1. They're number 1 because they've won 2 championships in a row. I'd put them at number 1 if their schedule was extremely hard.
Yeah, but the point I'm going to make here, that all schedules are not created equal. Georgia plays 1 top 25 team on this AP poll, which is Tennessee in Knoxville on November the 18th. We'll preview that as a big game here in a minute. Michigan, same story. They've got 2 games. They've got Penn State at Happy Valley, and then the last game of the season, the Ohio State Buckeyes. So that could be the matchup of the year, 2 versus 3 in the regular season. That is the highest ranked matchup in the regular season. But Penn State is the other Big Ten team here in the top 7. Three teams from the Big Ten, Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, Scott, in the top 7 of this poll. So SEC has 3 in the top 5. Big Ten has 3 in the top 7. So those are going to be big matchups when they play each other, and we'll look at those teams. You've got USC, the Southern California Trojans, and Lincoln Riley here with Caleb Williams, the returning Heisman Trophy quarterback. He does still have his tattoos on his knuckles, Scott, back from that Utah loss.
Classy guy.
So they are the favorite in the Pac-12 is the USC Trojans. Looking here, now this is a team that a lot of people are talking about, but their early season schedule in September is brutal because they do play LSU the first game of the season, who they beat last year in a tightly contested game, and then they got Clemson at the end of September. So if Florida State can get through both LSU and Clemson in the first month of the season, watch out for that team right there as a dark horse contender for the college football playoffs. Washington Huskies, they have Michael Penix Jr. coming back at quarterback, the lefty who transferred from Indiana. They are projected number 2 in the Pac-12. Then you go to the second 10. You have the Texas Longhorns. Here, Steve Sarkisian with Quinn Ewers. Scott, Quinn got a haircut. He's went from the long-haired country boy look to, trying to hold off Arch Manning, who he's currently doing. He has a staple of wide receivers at Texas. They have their best wide receiver lineup in 25 years, Scott. That team right there is strong, and they play Alabama the second week of the season in a rematch of last year's game. The Tennessee Vols,
highest ranked team in the Big 12.
Yeah, the highest ranked team in the Big 12. Great point right there. Now
Washington, the highest ranked team in the Pac-12.
Behind USC.
Southern Cal, the highest ranked team in the Pac-12.
Now, this right here, the Tennessee Vols.
Florida State, the highest ranked team in the ACC.
That's right. Yeah, they are ahead of Clemson, who Tennessee beat in their bowl game last year. So let's look at the Tennessee Vols real quick here at number 12. New quarterback, Joe Milton. According to ESPN, he is ranked the number 1 quarterback that is going to have a say in the college football playoff. The biggest factor, number 1 ranked, is quarterback Joe Milton with the Tennessee Vols. We're going to look at a couple of the big matchups they have here. They get a crack at number 4 and number 1. They split with them last year, beat Alabama, lost to Georgia. But November 18th, they have this game circled. The Bulldogs come to Knoxville, and it's about due time that Tennessee's going to get the Bulldogs, Scott. Look at, I see the face, I see the angst, I see the emotion there. Scott and the Tennessee Vols will be ready for that game. Looking at these teams here, I talked to Dustin Flowers, my Notre Dame expert. I met this guy on a job a few months ago in Hohenwald, Tennessee. He tells me that Notre Dame should be ranked higher, okay? They have Sam Hartman, a quarterback transfer from North Carolina State.
You doing
many
joke.
ACC records. No, he called out the teams they should be ahead of. He said Florida State, he said Penn State, and Washington all are not as good as
Your
Notre
buddy
Dame.
doing jokes, right?
No, he's good,
Yeah,
man.
no, doing jokes about the Irish.
This dude's good. We're going to get
Top
with
of the
Dustin.
morning to you.
Dustin's more of the Midwestern, Northern West. He watched the entire country, so we sometimes get focused in on the SEC. He's going to give us some talk on national this year. He knows his stuff. That's all he does is watch football. Matter of fact, for 4 years, he never missed a Notre Dame football game in South Bend and was on the sidelines. He's met Lou Holtz, Montana, Tim Brown, Rocket Ismail, all the Notre Dame greats. He is a big Notre Dame fan, but he projects them about 10-2, maybe 9-3. Very difficult schedule for Notre Dame. Notre Dame plays USC. Notre Dame also plays Ohio State. So they got to match up here, and over here. So they play 3-6 this year, does the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So that's going to be a difficult schedule. They've got some other tough games also on their schedule, does Notre Dame. Anything stand out here, Scott, in 13 through 18 to you?
Well, obviously, TCU, a playoff participant last year. They had the Cinderella season for TCU, all the way back down to 17. So, yeah, they lost that running back. They lost some of those people, the quarterback. Oregon could be a little low. Oregon and Utah both. It's just so hard to tell about these Pac-12 teams. Utah can get it. They can look like an SEC team one week and then get beat by a 500 team the next week. So they're so hard to predict right in here. It's interesting to see Oklahoma down this far. Yeah. You don't usually see that. Oklahoma's usually up in here.
Yeah.
Wisconsin, Texas A&M and Ole Miss. I'll tell you what, this right here. If this team doesn't go 10-2, Jimbo Fisher ought to be fired. Now, he's been down there playing around long enough.
Yeah.
It's time for them to have a big year, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. They return a lot of starters. They're big in the lines of scrimmage. They have some great skill players. Bobby Petrino's come in as offensive coordinator. They've got a matchup at Tennessee, and they host Alabama, so they get a crack at 3-12, as well as against these other SEC teams that are on here in the Western Division. So, yes, that's correct. So, looking at these, Tulane Green Wave here at 24 and 25. The team that I'm missing here between 19 and 25 is the Pirate and Mike Leach's Mississippi State Bulldogs. You're a Mississippi State Bulldogs, Scott, that you root for out of the West. They return 19 starters on that football team. And when you play a team, folks, it's that season, that experience, they're dangerous. And I think they're going to end up in the top 25 some point.
Keep in mind that as we talk about Mississippi State, that the Pirate passed away.
Yeah.
Pirate is no more. So the Bulldogs, I don't know about that offense without the Pirate. Okay? So, but we'll see. The best thing I like about this poll, obviously it's going to change after week one, so we don't dwell too much on these spots. The best thing about this poll is who's not in there. Who's not in there? The team that every year is hyped up. The team last year that set at number 8 in the country before they finally lost a game and then proceeded to lose 4 or 5, fall out of everything, and have their quarterback drafted by the Titans. I'm so glad the Kentucky Wildcats are not in this poll. Yeah. They've been overhyped every year since Mark Stoops got there, and they're not this year.
I thought you were going to say the Florida Gators.
And I like it.
Yeah.
That goes without saying.
Well,
everybody notices Florida's not there. Yeah. Everybody notices.
And Florida has a brutal schedule, Scott, and their over and under win total is projected at 5.5. So they may not even make a bowl game this year. But this is your top 25. As Scott said, it's fluid. We're just checking the barometric pressure on these teams. Who's too high? Who's too low? SEC strongly represented here. But, hey, it's just going to be played out on the field. We'll be watching it closely each week. But we want to know on Facebook, who is too high and too low in your top 25? So these are your big matchups for this year, the college football playoff matchups. Some of the biggest games of the year. They don't have all of them on here, but these are some marquee matchups that you've got to see. At the end of the season, the last game, Ohio State and Michigan, Scott, J.J. McCarthy against Kyle McCord. This matchup right here is probably going to determine one of your playoff entrance.
If not both.
Yeah. Penn State wants to spoil that party, but these two teams here, always a big game.
They both win last year, right? Yes. They both went to the playoff last year.
I know Michigan got beat by TCU. Yes, they both did last year. And if the wide receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr., who is the best wide receiver in the country, had not been knocked out of the Georgia game, Ohio State may have been national champions. So big game right there, as we know. And again, we mentioned these Florida State games. Here's one, the first week of the season, Labor Day weekend, and then at the end of the month, Florida State against the LSU Fighting Bengal Tigers, and then Florida State at Clemson. So them are two humongous games for the Florida State, Jordan Travis and the Florida State Seminoles and Coach Mike Norvell. If they can get through those two games, as we said, they're going to be contenders. But this is the game I've got circled right here. This is week number 2, folks. And I'm going to tell you right now, Alabama's loaded with 4 and 5 stars. Their roster is deep, but they're still battling out at quarterback. Quinn Ewers had Alabama on the ropes last year in Texas. Alabama pulled it out, late drive by Bryce Young, 19-17. That team right there is stacked. And if they pull that upset in Tuscaloosa, they're right square in the playoff picture. Oh, yeah. Tennessee, wanted to feature them. Tennessee against Alabama. 3rd week of October, Scott. You and I both know what that's all about. We always have big shows, preview, and spend a lot of time the week before on this matchup right here.
Will they be playing Dixieland Delight anymore in Bryant-Denny Stadium?
I believe they will.
Will.
Yeah, but if Tennessee scores a bunch of touchdowns, their band might be playing it. So we'll see which band, battles it out to play it the most. Probably whoever's winning the game. And then Georgia and Tennessee. Now look, Tennessee could lose to Alabama in the regular season, but win their game in the East. Both have one loss. Tennessee would go to the SEC championship game on the tiebreaker because of the head-to-head. So this is more important game for Tennessee than this one is. A lot of the fans would argue with you if they could pick which game they want to win. They might pick this one. This is the more important game.
Same thing on the other side. This is a more important game for Alabama than this one or this one.
Yep.
They can't lose both of them, but they can lose one of them, and they win this one and win the rest, they're going. So this and this, SEC East and West, right?
Yeah, always huge games right there. The biggest game in the East, the biggest game in the West. You're exactly right.
And look, every week we're going to feature the biggest upcoming games. Every week we're going to feature we're going to talk a little bit about last week's games, but considering that we're on Wednesday now instead of on Monday, we're going to talk more about the coming games this year than we talk about the games that were over, because they'll be 3, 4, 5 days over. Kim, we need a top 4 out of you. We need a predicted preseason playoff top 4.
My preseason playoff top 4, I've got the top 2 teams in. I've got the Georgia Bulldogs, the Michigan Wolverines, based on their schedules. Georgia's preparing for Tennessee, got them circled. That's the most difficult game they got. It's really the only game outside South Carolina of any team that I see that even has a chance. But I think Tennessee's got a very good chance to knock Georgia off. A very good chance to knock Georgia off. I've got Michigan at number 2. They have the Ohio State game at home. They've got a cream puff schedule as well, an experienced team. They were in the playoffs the last 2 years. I think they get back again. Those two teams, based off on their schedules, I think have a schedule advantage over some of these other teams. The third one's going to shock you. I've got a team outside the top 10 that's going to crash the playoff picture, and it is Steve Sarkisian and the Texas Longhorns. That gives you a preview to what's going to happen in Week 2, September 9th. I think Texas is going to come into Tuscaloosa and upset Alabama. My friends are not happy with me for making this prediction, but I'm telling you, Texas is good in the secondary. They got a transfer from Arkansas, a big safety named Catalon. That's a big boy. They have 3 other returning starters back there. They can match Alabama's strong offensive line with a imposing defensive front. They have Kyle Ewers and that explosive wide receiver core coming back. I think they're going to give Alabama all they can handle. And I'm going to put USC right now. I think USC is going to take the Pac-12. Caleb Williams is going to make another run at the Heisman. I think they're the best team. They, too, have solidified their run defense, added a transfer defensive lineman from Georgia to their team, a big lineman, 360 pounds. They're going to be tough. So right now, I've got Georgia, Michigan, Texas, and USC, the college football playoff, my Pigskins prediction right now.
You know, obviously I love my Tennessee Volunteers to be there. I'll take those 4. What I want to see out of those 4 is a USC-Texas rematch of that great game with Vince Young, Reggie Bush, and those guys, right?
Oh, that'd be
about
something.
10 years ago,
Yeah.
A rematch between Texas and USC. I think that would be fun. We told you earlier about a new segment that we have here on Gold Ball Sports, and it's called the Blue Couch. And what we're going to do on the Blue Couch is sit down with guests and talk to them. And Dave Myers is going to do most of that. So Dave, take us to the couch.
Episode 2, the Blue Couch for Gold Ball Sports, and with me, I have the quarterback for the Tullahoma High School Wildcats, Mr. Mason Bratcher. Mason.
Hey guys.
All right. So, like I said before, quick questions, 5 of them. We're going to get right down to the first one. Mason, how are you feeling heading into the season?
This year is going to be a lot better than last year. The offensive line has gotten a lot better, and we're looking pretty strong.
Good deal. Number 2, what's been the biggest difference in your game from last year?
The biggest difference in my game is I've grown a lot. Last year I was probably about 5'10", 155 pounds. This year I'm about 6'1", 170.
That's a big change.
Yeah, it is.
What have you been eating?
Everything.
Okay, cool.
Everything.
All right, so I'm going to do number 4 next, and then we're going to do number 3. Okay, number 4. What was the biggest struggle with stepping into the QB1 role mid-season last year?
The biggest struggle was probably just me being smaller than everybody else as a sophomore. We played a bunch of big teams from Nashville area, and they were very big.
Cool. All right, so question 4. What's the number one thing you tell younger kids who look up to you about playing football?
I just tell them to keep working. Effort beats talent every day. You never know when you're going to get called upon to step into a role you may not be comfortable with.
Cool. All right, so the 5th question. This is take 3 because we laughed quite a bit at the answers, but Mason's going to give you 2 of his game day traditions starting now.
Number 1 is I eat a bag of Skittles before every game. That's for football or baseball. And then the second one is I use the third urinal in the
bathroom. You know what? We're going to keep this cut.
Through it.
No, it's fine.
I use the third urinal in the bathroom before every single game.
Perfect. I don't know how to take that, and I don't know what you're going to do with that information. Anyways, my guest, Mason Bratcher. Dude, good luck on the year.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for being here.
All right, we appreciate Mason and Ezra coming in and sitting on the blue couch and talking with Dave. Third urinal before the game.
Skittles.
On the left.
Yeah. Skittles. We go to the urinals before the game. We got to do our business.
Mason, my man, your granddaddy was a heck of an athlete. A heck of an athlete. And we're so proud of you and what you're doing. We don't give out a lot of nicknames, but you are Skittles, my man.
Yeah, that's
you
it.
are Skittles Bratcher.
Well, we got Easy and Skittles. Those guys did a great job. Probably their first interviews they've done. Welcome this Blue Couch, our new Blue Couch promo here that we started with in show 1, and we'll do some more of that. But these guys are leaders, and they're going to be integral parts of this team this year, Scott. Both of them.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk a little more Tullahoma Wildcat football. And let's start with just a very brief recap of Tullahoma's scrimmage Friday night against Summit at Wilkins Stadium. Nice crowd there for Fan Feast. We don't put a lot of stock in scrimmages, okay? We understand. I talked to Coach Olive before the scrimmage. We understand you never know what coaches are trying to do. You never know what they might be getting the left guard to try to, get out a little quicker with his right shoulder. You never know what they're trying to do in a scrimmage. So first of all, you take that into consideration. But what I look for is people who make outstanding plays. Because they make outstanding plays in a scrimmage, chances are they're going to make outstanding plays in a game. And I saw 3 guys to me, Ken, who just were outstanding in a half of action against Summit. And they were Kanai Johnson, He's going to kick return, punt return, defensive back, wide receiver. He appears to be the most skilled of the skill position players. Number 2 is Colby Tucker. Colby Tucker is just a beast, okay? He chased a receiver down 50 yards and caught the guy at the 1-yard line. One of the best hustle plays I've seen on a high school football field. Colby Tucker, fullback, linebacker. They need 15 healthy games out of Colby Tucker. And then the third outstanding Tullahoma player to me, and I'm talking about guys that I think potentially going to be first team all region, that sort of thing, is Grant Chadwick. I mean, Grant Chadwick is just a weapon. He showed it all in that scrimmage, had a 48-yard field goal. All his kickoffs went in the end zone. He had to be a 55, 60-yard punt that just hung up there forever. Tullahoma's coverage was great. Those 3 guys, Ken, stood out to me at the scrimmage as being guys who
So Scott,
we gotta have.
Hey Scott, I'm gonna tell you, I talked to Grant after the game just to congratulate him on a great kick, and he corrected me. It wasn't 48, it was 52. Is what I found out. So 52-yard field goal. The first scrimmage that I saw him kick out, which was the second scrimmage, he had about I think it was a 54-yard field goal. So just to let you know.
Well, I'll have to check the tape, but I'm going to bet he kicked it from the 38-yard line. So, Grant, when you come to the Blue Couch, we'll find out the truth.
Blue Couch, there you go. There you go.
About the scrimmage kick. But anyway, Ken, your thoughts?
Partner, you're dead on. You know, and so I just want to go back, a little bit. We was talking about nicknames. It's funny because Friday night, one of the first things you said to me was, hey, man, we got to come up with some nicknames for these guys. And I said, well, it'll play its way out. And, man, we already got 2 of them, Skittles and Easy Money. But we got to figure out nicknames for those other guys that you mentioned. Keani Johnson, number 3, he'll be wearing 3. He's like the Swiss Army knife. He's like Jacoby Thomas was just a few years ago. The guy can, he's got speed to burn, and man, just his backpedaling. Now he had trouble early on, the last couple of years, fumbling punts. Okay, he had ball security issues. Man, just how fluid he was going back over his shoulder, catching long punts. Summit had a good punter. I'm sure Chadwick's been punting to him, but he's securing the ball. He had a 60-yarder, as you said, and then Mason Bratcher hitting Johnson on an 80-yard bomb. Scott, those safeties are not going to be able to stay in the box and play the run with the possibilities of a deep threat with Bratcher going to Johnson. That was a dynamic pass, one of the best high school passes I've seen in several years. A combination, those guys are going to light it up. And that play that you mentioned by Tucker, that's a play that a defensive coordinator, Coy Sisk, former defensive coordinator, is going to play over and over and over again. Bratcher said that effort wins over talent. There's nobody that put effort in like that on that play, and that epitomizes what Coach Sisk wants his team, the kind of effort he wants them to play with, because the touchdown resulted, the next play or two, they're going to get it, but he hustled him 40-yard line, chased him down to 1 to make that tackle. You never know, you could fumble the next play, and that'd be a game. We commented on it when we were watching it. That could be a potential game-saving play had they not scored in a regular season game.
Exactly. So let's take a look at the schedule here quickly, as we are running out of time here on episode 1 of season 2 of Gold Ball Sports. The Wildcats open up Friday night at home against Stewart's Creek. Stewart's Creek 6A team went 6-5 last year. They come out of Region 4 6A. It's a home game. I'm taking Stewart's Creek. Ken?
Yeah, and I heard you on your podcast. That's difficult for you to do as a play-by-play announcer, but hey, you call them the way you see them, partner. And that's a 6A school this season that plays in a tough region. They did win 6 games last year. You know, Tullahoma was clean Friday night, didn't turn the ball over. Defense was strong. Tullahoma got off to a 17-zip lead, had an interception on the first drive, had a fumble recovery. They get Ethan Hargrove back this week, who's been absent from the preseason. If Tullahoma can avoid silly penalties, tackle well, and play complimentary football, I think they're going to win this game at home and shock Stewart's Creek. I'm going to say Tullahoma 1-0 right there off the bat.
Wildcats will travel to Coffee County for the Coffee Pot, the 97th Coffee Pot. Week 2, Red Raiders lost a lot of people, had the best team in school history. They went 9-3 and won a playoff game, best season in 100 years at Coffee County. What are the odds they match or even come close to that? Very slim. Coffee County, bad. Tullahoma wins Coffee Pot.
Yeah, Tullahoma, the secondary is easy money. Talked about the one deficiency I saw, and there were a couple guys out. Grizzard was out, Hargrove was out. Tullahoma needs to get faster in the back end. In the secondary, Cole Pippinger is a dual threat quarterback that can light you up. I don't know what kind of weapons he has coming back, but I too like Tullahoma on the road to win the Coffee Pot.
Next, week 3, the Wildcats travel to Rockvale High School in Rockvale, Tennessee. Rockvale 3-7 last year. Also coming out of Region 4, 6A. They got some really tough teams. I like Tullahoma to go to Rockvale and win it. I don't know why.
I think this is a tough game, so I'm going to go against you on this one. I'm going to pick Rockvale to pull the win just because it's a trap game for Tullahoma. You have your season opener, and then you have Coffee County. It's a sandwich game between Coffee County and Franklin County, two of your biggest rivals. Rockvale wins, Tullahoma drops to 2-1.
Wildcats travel to Winchester to take on Franklin County. Game number 4. The Rebels coming off a good year, their best year in a decade.
That's home.
Finished 7-3. Tullahoma will host Franklin County, not go to Winchester. We'll do that next year. Franklin County comes here. I like Tullahoma. This is a region game. I like Tullahoma to beat the Rebels.
One of my favorite games. I was born in Winchester. My dad used to take me and my brother over to Winchester when Moose Bolden was coaching in the 70s. Remember running back named Terry Van Zant. So this is a rivalry I've loved for a long time. Tullahoma is going to beat the Rebels. 3-1 for Tullahoma.
Wildcats then go to Fayetteville, take on Lincoln County, another region game. In fact, a few region games in a row here. Lincoln County lacking in speed. Again, all of Tullahoma's success is predicated on health.
Yeah.
Because the Wildcats do not have the kind of depth that they had in 2020 and 2021. They just don't have it. So these critical players got to stay healthy. If they do, Tullahoma goes to Lincoln County, rolls all over the Falcons.
I'm more concerned with equipment failures on the field than I am the Falcons, Scott, as you well know. So Tullahoma over the Falcons.
Columbia comes into Wilkins Stadium on September 22nd. You're right. It's going to be fun to be matched up again with the Lions. Some great games that we had with them 10 years or so ago. They won a state championship. The best player I've ever seen, football player at Columbia, was Tredarius Goff. He was a beast. He led them to a state championship. He's now their head coach. This is his first year. So, first-year coach, watch him in a couple of years. I like Tullahoma to beat Columbia at home.
Well, Columbia always has great athletes, especially at running back and receiver. So Tullahoma will have to match skilled players there, but I like Tullahoma as well.
All right, 9-29, Lawrence County at home. 10-6, Warren County at home. I don't think either one of these teams can touch Tullahoma's speed. Cats should blow these guys out.
Yeah, I think Tullahoma will be geared up for the run game of Lawrence County and get revenge on them from last season's loss at home at Tullahoma. And then the Pioneers, not nearly as good as they were last year.
Hopefully, on October 13th, when Tullahoma has its bye week, hopefully Moore County's playing somebody good at home because they're going to be a fun team to watch this year. Moore County, state title contender in Class 1A. On the 20th of October, Tullahoma goes to Spring Hill. There's no reason to expect any competition even from Spring Hill. They didn't even compete last year. Look at the scores. They're all 60-0. And then Tullahoma finishes the season at Shelbyville. I think the Golden Eagles, along with the Wildcats, are going to be the most improved team in Region 5-5A this year. Coach is in his second year. They got a lot of money pumping into the football program at Shelbyville Central High School. I think this game decides who finishes number 1 and who finishes number 2. Final game of the season for the Region 5-5A championship. Tullahoma goes to Shelbyville and beats the Golden Eagles.
Boy, that's an earth-shattering, exciting prediction part. I like that. Wouldn't it be a special game for us to call? And normally this is a schedule flip. Tennessee normally plays Georgia at the first of schedule. They drop back. Same thing with Shelbyville. We've opened up on Thursday nights with them the last several years. That game drops to number 10 in the rotation. I like where it's at. Both teams should be playing their best football there before the playoffs. A lot should be on the line. I like the Wildcats in that one to go 91. I think we both picked them 91.
9-1. Our predictions for the Wildcats.
And I was going to say, both predicted 9-1, and we're going to see because that's where I'm sitting as well.
Yeah,
9-1 Wildcats.
Facebook audience, we want to know what you think about the Wildcats. You've seen their record. What are they going to do? There's 10 games. Scott and I both have them at 91.
Keep in mind that Region 5 5A will match up against Region 6 5A in the playoffs, and that region is loaded. Page, Nolensville, Centennial. So playoffs are going to be tough. If you don't finish first in Region 5 5A, or at least host a game, I don't think you got a chance to win that opening round. So
good point.
That's a quick preview of Tullahoma. The Wildcats play Stewart's Creek. Next week, we'll begin our review of the last week's game and then our preview of the next game. We'll know a lot more about the Tullahoma Wildcats next week, but right now is the 2-minute warning. I know it is.
It
is. It's a new segment, and it's a 2-minute warning, and it starts with Big Dave.
All right, y'all. So, my 2-minute warning is going to go to this segment, and I'm going to take some of my time just to explain it. 2 minutes, uninterrupted. This is how we're going to end the shows. All right, it's 2 minutes. I'm going to give this one to Shohei Ohtani. I know a lot of people are talking up about him, but not enough. I'm going to give you some quick facts on Shohei. He could throw 100 miles per hour in high school. He could have been an Olympic swimmer, says his swim coach in high school. He's the first player to be selected to the All-Star game as a pitcher and a hitter. Sleeps, and I don't do this, sleeps at least 10 hours a night. I think that's the key to success, gentlemen. Sleeping 10 hours a night.
It is for me.
One of the most interesting things, he shares one record with Babe Ruth. And he shares multiple.
Is it Led Zeppelin?
Yes. Hey, this is uninterrupted. Chill out. Only 2 players in history to have over 10 home runs and over 10 wins in a season. Y'all, it's time to start putting him on the GOAT pedestal. This guy, and I'm going to say it now, if he stays healthy and he stays current and keeps his body healthy, could be the best baseball player to ever play the sport in the history of baseball. And he comes from Japan, and he is a monster. I'm going to name him Godzilla because I'm terrified of him. He can throw lights out. He can hit lights out. This guy deserves to be on everybody's tongue who loves sports. Not necessarily just one specific sport, but sports in general. Shohei Ohtani is my pick for this 2-minute warning. We need to give him more credit.
Good timing, man. So did you really get hit 2 minutes, or did you just push that button after you got done?
2 minutes, baby. I get to watch it.
That's good. Hey, do we have a comment we can make on it?
No, come on.
No?
2 minutes, Ken.
Okay.
Go.
All right. I'm up. Okay, so 2-minute warnings are about comebacks. To fire me up for the football season, I love great football movies. I love Facing the Giants. I love Radio. I've watched this movie twice that I'm fixing to tell you about in the last 3 weeks. American Underdog, the Kurt Warner story, an unbelievable story. The greatest NFL free agent ever to play. Okay, this guy won 2 league MVPs. He was a Super Bowl MVP. Played at Northern Iowa. Played in the Arena Football League, and is the only player in the Arena Football League and in the Pro Football, or the Arena Football Hall of Fame and the Pro Football Hall of Fame. In 2017, he was inducted. The greatest show on turf. So watch that movie. It'll fire you up for football season. So what's the application? The application is this. Sports is an escape route from reality. Whether it's Friday Night Lights, whether it's game days in SEC, whether it's Sunday NFL ticket reclining from your sofa as an armchair quarterback, what is the challenge? The challenge is this: create your own comeback story. Demonstrate faith and demolish your fears. If you believe it, you can achieve it. The Rams were 4-12 in 1998 before they played the Titans in the Super Bowl in '99, and he won that MVP. The Titans had 3 consecutive 8-8 seasons. Now, who's going to be the underdog stories of 2023? Who's it going to be? Who's going to create great stories at the end of this season? So this football season, root passionately for your team, sport, and wear your favorite colors. The fall festival of football heaven is upon us, and above all, whatever the quarter or season of life you're in, remember, nothing is impossible with God. Nothing.
Boom!
Hey, you got it.
Nice.
You got it.
Nice.
Hold on, let me get you. Are you ready? And go.
My 2-minute warning is not near as dramatic as these two guys. I just want to take the opportunity to say how much I feel blessed to be able to do this. After all this time, I called my first high school football game in 1984. So even though I have not broadcast football every single year since then, that's 40 years ago. And this will be, the best I can figure, my 33rd year of doing Tullahoma Wildcat football, either on the radio, the internet, or television. So that's a long time. It's about 360 games heading into this Friday night. Best I can figure, I've been working on just trying to figure this stuff out. I've called about 100 basketball games on the radio or the internet or television, but I've done the PA announcing for Tullahoma. I did that for, I think, 12 years. And then for Motlow, 10 years. I think I've called about 50 baseball games. I've called 4 state championship football games, including Tullahoma's. And I've called 6 state championship basketball games. Hosted a sports talk show now. This will be about the 20th year for this. Ben's Jordan and I started this thing out, I don't know, late 90s. It may be close to 25 years for this show. But I've just been so blessed to have opportunity after opportunity to do this. I was willing to give this show up. And these two guys, Dave and Ken, made a point to say, let's get the gang back together. So these two guys gave me the comeback story for the sports talk show because it looked like
Finish that.
It looked like it was gone. That's it for season 2, episode 1 of Gold Ball Sports. Remember, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube at Gold Ball Sports. Share this thing on social media, please. For Ken Keller and Dave Myers, I'm Scott Chastain. Be good to each other.